Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Yapurnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Chaitanyam Sarvagam Sarvam Sarvabhuta Guhashayam Yat Sarva Vishayatitam Tasmai Sarva Vide Namaha. Nanyena Jyotisha Karyam Raveratma Prakashane Sabodhan Nanya Bodhecha Bodhasyatma Prakashane Natyasevanyatopeksha Swarupam yasya yad bhavet Prakashantaradushyona Prakaso hyasti kaschana Vyaktisyada prakashasya Prakashatma samagamat Prakashastvarga karyasya Iti mithyavacho hyataha. How there is no knowing, knowerness in Atma, nor knownness in Atma. Meaning Atma cannot become the object of knowledge, nor can it become the agent of knowledge, Jnaya or Jnata. And this should become very clear. Therefore, in so many verses, this is being explained here, so that the mumukshu knows what should be the attitude in the mind, what should be the disposition of perception in the mind while contemplating upon the self. That Atma is not Jnana Karma or Jnana Vishaya, meaning do not try to objectify Atma. Atma is not Jnana Ashraya, so don't assume yourself to be the knower. Now, that there can be knowledge without an object being the object of knowledge, without entity being an object of knowledge, or there can be knowing without something being the agent of knowing. So, this is quite a different thing. That is why what we are normally accustomed to is having the duality of the knower known in all our transactions. And that whole orientation has to be dropped. The knower known orientation itself has to be dropped because you are of the nature of knowledge. Therefore, knowledge is not to be created. In case of Ghatapata, yes, the knowledge has to be created, Ghataka, Rupti, etc. That's not the case with the self. Jnanyena jyotisha karyam rave atma prakashane. Atma prakashana, just as for illuminating itself, revealing itself, the sun has no need or expectation of another source of light, no illuminator. So bodhat nanya bodhecha bodhasyatma prakashana. In case of sun, it is of the nature of light, therefore there is no need for another light to illuminate the sun. In case of self, self is of the nature of knowledge, where knowledge means consciousness, just to shine. Therefore, there is no need for any other source, any other light to illuminate the self. This is called self-effulgence. Natasevanyatopeksha swarupam yasyad bhaved. For being what one is, there is no need for anything else to enable me to be what I am, because for nature I am what I am without any effort. Effortlessly I am what I am. Ultimately what I am is when there is effortlessness in being. When I say I am a human being, I am a man or a woman, happy, unhappy, in all of them, some effort is involved there. Meaning I have to be aware that I am, to say that I am a human being, I must be aware of something, I must be conscious. Without that consciousness or awareness, what I am is truly what I am. So bodhat nanya bodhecha bodhasyatma prakashane. Bodha, the knowledge, the consciousness, being in the consciousness. Nanya bodhecha. Therefore, there is no need for another consciousness to illuminate the self, that is consciousness or bodha. So bodha, knowledge, jnanam. So these are the words used to mean self-effulgent consciousness. Prakashan, so because to shine, to shine is the very nature of the self, therefore no need from any other source to impart existence to me, nor any need for any other source to impart illumination to me, because to be and to shine is my nature. Prakashandara drusyona prakasho yasti kasyana. It can never be that a light has a need of some other light to illumine that, because to shine is the nature of the light. And for that, there is no need, no expectation. I can become completely free from all expectation when I just be what I am. As long as I am deviated from myself, so long there is going to be a qualified being, and that is expectation. Because then there is separation. The earlier verse also told us, Swarupa avyavadhanabhyam. When I create a vyavadhanam, I create an antaraya, an intervention within myself and what I want to know. That vyavadhanam comes, then automatically I become separated, excluded, limited, and there is an expectation. व्यक्ति स्यात् अप्रकाशस्य प्रकाशात्म समागमात् ननु प्रकाशांतर दृश्यत्व अभावेपि स्वरूप प्रकाश दृश्येव किम न स्यात्. Sun doesn't have the need of being illumined by other light, other source of light, but why can't we say that sun illumines itself? यथा सविता घटादि प्रकाश स्वात्म प्रकाश इत्येव. When do we know that the sun is? So when the sun or sunlight illumines ghata, etc., then at that time the sun also illumines itself. Svatmanam prakashayati. Tad atma api drishyam avavasayam svatmanavi bhasayati ched. When do you know the sun is shining? When the pot is illumined. So somebody may say that by illuminating the pot, the sun also illumines itself. So also by illuminating object of knowledge, Atma illuminates itself. Why not? So is there illumination involved? Point is, when a pot shines in sunlight, is that the sunlight or sun is illuminating the pot? Is there any kind of a sankalpa or an effort involved on the part of the sun to illuminate the pot? Says no. Vyakti syat aprakashasya prakashatma samagamat. Aprakashasya. An entity whose nature it is to not shine by itself. It is aprakasha, jadam, paraprakasham, is not able to reveal itself. For that, what is required for an object like the ghata, which cannot reveal itself, which does not shine on its own? What is required is prakashatma samagamam. That's all that is required. Is samagama with the prakasha is required. Because where the prakasha is, andhakara cannot be. So all that happens is the darkness that is veiling this part gets removed in presence of the light. So it's not that light does anything. It is the nature of light that darkness cannot coexist with light. So as soon as the part comes in contact with the light, the veil of darkness gets revealed and therefore the pot shines. No action is involved here. That's on the part of sun or the light, no action is involved. For light to be light, no effort is needed. For light to dispel darkness, no effort is needed. Prakashastu arkarya mithyavacho hyatah. Therefore, to say that the sun has imparted some visheshata, has imparted to pot something that the pot did not have so far, that the pot is illumined by sun. And so, prakasha gunodaya ityartha, the quality of light has now come to this pot. Formerly, pot was characterized by darkness. Now the pot is characterized by light. So sunlight has imparted some attribute to this pot. So, prakasha gunodaya. Just know what is abhivyakti. What is it? Just manifestation of what is. Not that any change happened in the pot that now is endowed with the light. All that is pot is pot, that the darkness surrounding the pot is gone. Prakasha argakayeti mrisha vipadesha. So to say that the sun imparts light to the pot, is mrusha vyapadesha, is a false expression or false conclusion, false understanding. प्रकाश अवगुंठिते वस्तुनि प्रकाशोदय अभावे अभिव्यक्ति अभाव दर्शनात् इत्यर्थः। तस्मात् भासमान स्वरूप संसर्ग एव भाष्यस्य। I think in your book, small book, it should be भाष्यस्य अभिव्यक्ति. So what is illumined is evident moment it comes in contact with the light, that's all. यदि प्रकाश स्वसवितुः न अन्य प्रकाश्यता स्वप्रकाश्यता वास्ति. Don't say that the sun illumines the pot, that there is any kind of an effort on the part of sun to illuminate the pot, or some change in the pot when the pot gets illuminated. All this happening is that pot comes in contact with light and the darkness gets dispelled, so pot merely becomes evident, abhivyakta, evident. And all there is the presence of sun, not any effort on the part of the sun. Now continuing with verse 44. Ghatadi prakasha kasmat arkakarya anubhoti chet tatraha. So why don't you say it? Formerly pot was not illumined. Now the pot is illumined. So why can you not say that the illumination is something that the sun has produced? Illumination was not in the pot, and now it is in the pot. Therefore, ghatadi prakasha argakarya. The illumination of ghata, etc., is the effect of sun. It's a karya, it's something that is produced. Kasmat arkakaryo na bhavati. Because of what reason do you say that? The light of the sun, or light of the pot, or lightedness of the pot, is not something that is produced. Karya means produced. So if that is the question, then the next verse is told, verse 44. Yato bhutva bhavedyaccha tasya tatkaryamishyate swarupatvad bhutvana prakasho jayate rave. A basic definition of what is karya, what is effect, what is created, is given here. So the Tika says yattu prag bhutva yato bhaved, yato bhutva bhaved yatcha, the first charan. So there the Anvaya is, prose order is yattu prag abhutva yatah bhaved. Yattu, whatever it is, like a pot. No, light, the lightedness of the pot. Prag abhutva, it was not there before. Yato bhaved, has emerged from something. Like a pot did not exist before, and now it emerged from the clay. Then we can say that the pot is the product of the clay. To say that something is a product that should not exist before and should emerge from something else, like a pot emerges from clay, then you can say that pot is the karya, the effect of clay. Tattasya karya mishyate sambandha. So this is the definition of karya. Surupatvat abhutvana prakasho jayate ravehe. But prakasha is the very nature of the Ravi, or sun. So it's not there, sun light was not there, now the light has come, therefore the sun illumines. So therefore even that ghatadi prakasha, that prakasha is the nature of sun. And therefore prakasha cannot be said to be born of the sun, because it's not that non-existent prakasha has come into existence, it is the nature of the sun. So prakasha that illumines a ghata also is not something that is produced. It is the very nature of the sun. And therefore, ghatadi prakasha is nothing but the light that the sun is. And therefore, it is not something that is created, not something that did not exist. Light always existed in sun. And nothing has happened to light. All that has happened is that the part came in contact with light. Nothing has happened to part, nor anything has happened to light. Prakashatma samagamat, samagamam, coming in contact with light, that is all that has happened. And a beautiful example is given later on. Swarupatvat, because prakasha is swarupa of the sun, therefore, abhutva na jayate, it is not that this light is born which did not exist, now it has come into being. That's not the case with sun, because light is swarupa. Meaning sun does not illuminate itself, nor does it illuminate the part. Sun is and part is. No change has happened in either of them. All that has happened is that the part has now come in contact with the light of the sun without undergoing any change in the part of part, without any change in the part of the light. Only samagama has happened, coming in contact, and that automatically dispels the darkness and the part gets revealed. So what is meant by illuminating part is the part which was unrevealed or unmanifest just becomes manifest. कथम तरी प्रकाश रूपस्य आदित्यस्य प्रकाशेतृत्वम आत्मनस्य बोधमात्र स्वभावस्य बुद्धित्वं विदिश्यते. Then why is it normally said that the sun illumines? Or you can say that the Atma knows. Why is Atma called Bodha or a knower? Why is the sun called illuminator? From what you say, sun just is. There is no active illumination. Then why do we normally call sun the illuminator? Prakashetritva, illumination on the part of sun. Why is it said? Bodhritvam, or Atma is the nature of Bodha, or knowledge. Why is it said that Atma is a knower? Tatra, then to that end, because now we should understand all nitty-gritties about what is normally thought about the sun, or thought about Atma. Satta matre prakashasya karta dityadirishyate ghataadi vyaktito yadvad तद्वद् बोधात्मनीष्यताम्. सत्ता मात्रे प्रकाशस्य सत्ता मात्रे, just by sannidhi, prakasha being there. When sannidhi is not there, then the light being there is not evident. That there is light becomes evident when something is illuminated, understand? Because light can be perceived itself. But when an object is illuminated, then you know the light also is there. Satta matre prakashasya, all that prakash or light is satta matre, its nature is to be, not to do something. Karta adityadhi shade. Just because Aditya is of the nature of light, therefore it is called illuminated. Ghatadi Vyaktitha. What makes the sun get the designation of illuminated Ghatadi Vyaktitaha. Because the light of the sun becomes instrumental in manifestation of path. Unmanifest so far, and part becomes manifest, light becomes instrumental there, Ghatadi Vyaktitaha. Because the part which is unillumined becomes illumined, therefore we say that sun illumines the part. Tad bodhatma nishyadam, similarly also, so the Tika says, Prakashasya sannidhi sattamatra sati ghatadi vyaktitaha. Ghatadi vyaktitaha. Vyakti means manifestation. So because of the manifestation of ghata, etc., the objects such as part, Prakashasya sannidhi sattamatra. All there is a sannidhi, the proximity of light which is there. So light has been there, and then there is no proximity of the part with the light. Ghatadi Vyaktita, therefore, part which was unmanifest, meaning not evident to our eyes, now becomes evident to our eyes. This is called manifestation. Ghatadi Abhivyaktehe Darshanat. So when the part comes in light, which is of the nature of being, existence, then now the part is seen. So you think something has happened. The part that was not seen before is seen now, therefore we automatically think something has happened. That the part is made to be seen, part is illumined. Adityadi prakashasya kartaishyade. So we say that it is sun or any source of light has illumined the part. That's what we say, because it is not illumined before, now it is illumined. So what makes us believe that sun illumines? This is what happens. That sun, by its very being, presence, becomes the illuminator of Ghatapada, etc., which are aprakasha, which are not self-shining. And therefore it creates in our mind, the sun has done something. Like the part being there, in our mind the notion is created of part space. See how notions get created. And so also notion that sun has illumined the part gets created. Because sun was so far unillumined, now becomes illumined. What has happened is, the part has simply come in contact with the light, existing light. Light has been existing. Light also becomes evident to us. That is how the part becomes evident to us. Tad bodhurupe vyatmani. So adhyastha vastu sannidhi sattamatra sati. So also in case of the Atma, which of the nature of consciousness, is always there. What is necessary is for something to come in contact with that consciousness. Here, contact with consciousness requires chidabhasa or reflection. Because the sunlight and part are of the same degree of reality, therefore no special, that what is required is the sunlight, part come in contact with sunlight. Here, for any object to come in contact with the consciousness must first get reflected in the mind, and that illumined mind or enlivened mind should then travel through the gateway of sense organs such as eyes, come in contact with the object. That's how the Vishayakara Vritti is generated. Then we say that the part is known, and so part is illumined. We think that part is illumined, part is known, and therefore the Atma has illumined the part. Atma is a knower. I am the knower. So far, in me, the knowerness was not there. Now when the part becomes evident, I say that now I know the part. Ghata jñāto maya. So I think that I have known the part because part was unknown. Part was unmanifest. It is now become manifest to me, and That is why I also superimpose upon myself the idea of knowerness. So adhyastavasu sandhinamatre sati. In case of Atma, the vastus are all adhyasta. So what is superimposed upon Atma? When that comes in contact with Atma, for that, everything is adhyasta. Ghatapatara. But for them to go in contact with Atma, the mind, enlivened mind and sense organs are required. That is how the contact of an object such as pot with consciousness gets established when this intermediate phenomenon happens. In case of the pot being illumined by sun, no other thing has to happen because you have the same enjoy satta. But because Atma is Satya, Ghatapata is Mithya, therefore for Atma to illumine Ghatapata, which are Adhyasta, Adhyasta is Mithya. Therefore, Atma first gets reflected in mind and through sense organ it contacts the object. Therefore, Bodha has happened, knowledge has happened, and therefore I am the knower. So that is how bodhrutvam ishyatam angikriyatam idyavat. So this is how the idea of bodhrutvam, idea of knowerness arises in me. Because the part of unknown so far, it has become known to me and therefore I am the knower. Like the pot was not there, pot has come into being, so I take for granted that pot space also has come into being, so now there is pot space. So interesting how these notions get created. And then we should know what is the notion and what is the reality. Svagata vikaram antarenaiva atmana artha prakashakatvam. So you see, when you say that I have known the object pot, that for consciousness to become knower, some change should take place in consciousness. Formerly, consciousness was not knower. Now consciousness becomes knower. So an internal change called svagata vikara. An internal change such as kartrutva should happen to consciousness for the consciousness or Atma to be called karta or buddha. But here, Atma becomes knower without undergoing any change. Without knowerness happening in Atma, the knowing takes place. Called taking place. No will is required on my part, really speaking, to know. In any case, the jnana is vastu tantram, the purusha tantram. So no will is involved in my knowing something. And still I call myself a knower, as though I have done something there. And therefore, as though some internal transformation takes place in Atma or consciousness for it to become knower, it is true that that transformation happens in the ahankara. In ahankara, internal transformation is there, kartrutva. In Atma, it is not there. Svagata vikaram antarenaiva atmana artha prakashakatvam. Atma artha prakashaka. Atma means prakashaka, illuminator of artha or an object such as ghata. So this is what is happening. Atma illumines ghatapata without undergoing any intrinsic change in itself. Etadapi ravi drishtandina spashtayati. So that also is now clarified with the help of the drishtanta of the sun. Very interesting example is given here. Bilat sarpasya niryane suryo yadvat prakashakah prayatnena vina tadvat jnatatma bodharupatah. Bilat Sarpasya Niryana, what an example, very beautiful example and brilliant example. A snake comes out of its hole. When I first looked, I said, what is going, what is it? What relevance is as a snake coming out of the hole? Why is this example? Suryo yadvat prakashakah. As long as the snake was within its hole, so long it did not have any contact with the sunlight, and therefore the snake was unmanifest. Not that it did not exist, it was unmanifest. As soon as it comes out of the hole, now comes in contact with sunlight which is already existing, without any effort on the part of the sunlight, the snake gets illumined. So Suryo, then you say that sun has illumined the snake, Suryo yadvat prakashaka. So the idea of illuminator is superimposed upon the sun, because the snake was not illumined so far and now it is becoming illumined. What has happened is snake has come in contact with the light. That's all that has happened, and therefore the darkness around snake is dispelled. Prayatnena vina, without any effort on the part of sun, how the sun is called prakashaka, illuminator of the snake. Tattva jnata atma bodharupa, similarly atma bodharupa, of the nature of consciousness, and in this manner something becomes illumined in presence of atma. In case of the snake, you can say that the snake was covered by darkness. Prakasha avagunthite vastuni. And therefore, as long as Prakasha Udaya does not happen, so long the snake doesn't become known. As soon as Prakasha Udaya happens, snake is known. And so, similarly, Atma shines. And something comes in contact with that Atma. Through the mind and sense organ, that is how the Vastu comes in contact with the Atma, and therefore it shines. No effort is involved part of Atma, no effort is involved part of anything. Shining just takes place. Because the darkness of ignorance is dispelled. So Tikakare Sarpasya Niryana means Nirgame. Viladvara. So from the opening of the hole, when the snake emerges, Ganyayamane, then you see the snake. Hey, there is snake there. Yadvat Surya Prayatnena vina. So sun, without any effort on the part of itself, Puru Siddheneva Svajyotisha Tvam Bhasayan. Sun as though illumines that snake with what? With the Jyotish of the light that pre-existed. Light existed before also, except that now the snake has come in contact with the light. So without any effort on the part of the sun is called the illuminator of the snake. Tam bhasan prakashaka vyapadishyate. Vyapadish shabda prayog. So this is how sun is described. That is prakashaka. So Atma bodha rupatvat. Similarly also Atma is of the nature of bodha or consciousness, meaning what? Prayatnena vina. Atma doesn't need any effort to be consciousness. Meaning vikaramantarena. So just as no change takes place in sun, when the snake becomes illumined, so also no change takes place in Atma when a ghatapata becomes illumined. But people think that something has happened. Therefore now Atma knows. There is knowerness in Atma, illuminatorness in the sun. So now says how this idea of the illuminator comes. Idani upadi bhave jnatritva padeshat tadabhave tadabhavat. Anvaya Vyatireka is stated. When upadi, what is upadi? The illumined is called Upadhi, like a snake. Upadhi bhave jnatrutva upadeshat. As long as the snake was not there, so long the sun was not called illuminator. And when Upadhi, the sun comes, now he is called illuminator. So illuminatorness in sun is on account of the snake being there or not there. Not something in the sun is there, something, the Upadhi, the snake is there or not there. So tat sattve tat sattvam, tad asatve tad asabhava. Tat sattve tat sattvam, when one is there, other is there, it's called anvaya. Tad abhava, when one is not there, other is not there, it's called vyatireka. So when clay is there, pot is there, the anvaya. Clay is not there, pot is not there, vyatireka. So the snake is there, the illuminatorness is there. Anvaya. Snake is not there, the illuminatorness is not there, vyatireka. Upadhi bhave jnatrutva upadeshat. Upadhi bhave, when bhava or presence of the upadhi is there, then jnatrutva, then Atma is called jnata. Tadabhave, tadabhavat, when object of knowledge is not there, the designation that Atma is knower also is not there. Upadhikam jnatrutvam iti. So jnatrutvam, knowerness is upadhikam, is on account of what is known. The Atma is called knower, because for Atma to be, some change should have happened in Atma for Atma to be called knower. Formerly Atma was not called knower, and now suppose Atma is called knower, because something is known, then that internal change should have taken place in Atma for a not knower to knower, but no change happens in Atma, in consciousness, no change happens. Therefore, formerly Atma was called not knower because of absence of pot. It's called knower by presence of pot. Upadhikam jnatrutvam. So jnatrutvam, the knowerness in Atma is due to upadhi, is due to what is element. In the Shetum, Param Udaharan, another Udaharan is given here, Dagdhaya Veti. So next verse is Dagdeva Mushnas Sattayam Tadvad Bodhat Manishadam Satyeva Yadupadhavtu Jnate Sarpa Ivottite. Dagda eva ushnaha. Ushna is a fire. Dagda, fire is called Dagda. Fire is called burner. Fire burns. So, it says fire has burned this, Burned the forest, burned the house, first so many things fire has burned. Ushna, Sattayam, no change has happened in fire to be called burner. Fire is just fire. When something comes in contact with the fire, then it burns, and so fire is called the one that burns. Sattayam. Tad bodhat. So another example. How the fire is called Dahaka. And so similarly Atma is called Bodha. Satyavadavado tu jnate sarpe evottite. Just as upadhi called sarpa is there, when it is known, then it's called, the sun is called the illuminator. So say, tika yatha dahya sannidhau ushna swarupasya agnehe satta matrena dahakatvam. Ushna here means ushna swarupaha, means agni. So ushna dagdha. Ushna agni is called dagdha, the burner. Yatha dahya sannidhau. So agni is there. When some dahya or something that is burnable comes in contact, then it becomes burner as the bodhrutvam ishyatam. Similarly also, sattam dahakatvam tatha Bodh Swarupasya Atmana, Bodh is Sandhi Matra, Bodhrutvam. Similarly, Bodhya, object of knowledge, comes in contact with Atma, that is Bodha, Sandhiti happens. And by that, Atma gets the designation of Bodha. Just as the fire gets the designation of one that burns when there is Sandhiti of something that is burnt. Yatha Viraduthite Sarpe Upadu Jnata Satyeva Savita Prakashaka, that we already said. That Savita is called Prakashaka when that snake comes out of the hole and there is a contact with the light. Until then, the sun was not called the Prakashaka. Now it's called Prakashaka. What creates the difference? The Upadi, the snake, the object that is illumined, creates the difference, creates the notion that now the sun has done something. Tasmat Aupacharika eva Atmana Jnatrutva. Therefore, Atmana Jnatrutva Padesha. That Atma is called Jnata is only in a secondary sense, not in a primary sense. So, Jnatrutvam, now Kartrutvam. Aupadikatvam, Jnatrutvam, Atmana Ravidrishtantena Pratipadya. Atma Aupadikatvam, that Atma is Jnatrutvam, Atma is Jnata, is Aupadikam, is because of Upadi of Sarpa in this case. Ravidrishtantena Pratipadya. How Ravi was called illuminator because of the snake which comes in contact with the light. So how without undergoing any change, the sun is called illuminator. So also without undergoing any change, Atma is called the knower. So that was explained with the example of the Ravi. Teniva drishtantena kartrutvam, that Atma is karta. That also is explained by the same example of the sun. Jnata, next verse is 48. Jnata yatnopi tadvajnah karta bhramakavad bhavet swarupena swayam natma Jneyo jneyo thava tataha. Tadvat, in that same manner, in a similar manner, ayatnopi jnata. Tadvat jnah ayatnopi jnata. Karta bhramakvad bhavet. So just as the jnah, the consciousness became jnata, because upadi of jnaya, so also Brahmakavat, so it becomes Karta also, like a Brahmaka, like a magnet becomes the Karta. Magnet says it is attracted the iron filing. Similarly also, Atma becomes Karta in a similar manner. Surupena swayam Atma agneha agneha athva tataha. Surupena, by the very essential nature of Atma, it is not Gneya, meaning that it is not the object of knowledge. Agneya, not, so Atma is not known, nor is it unknown. So Viditat, Avidadasi will be stated later on. So Tikakara says here, Yadvat ayam Gneha, that comes from the word Gneha, means Atma. Gneha, the knower or the consciousness, Atma. Ayatnaha, ayatnobi, yatna rahitobi, jnata vyakhyata. So now we explained in the previous verses how without any volition on the part of Atma, Atma is designated as a knower without any change or volition in Atma, just because an object such as a snake is known. It is a known called Upadi, which is instrumental in creating the notion of knower or illuminator on the part of sun, or so also on the part of Atma. The Atma is called knower because We think that an object is known, illumined, Atma illumined. So how that is not so, it was explained. Vyakhya tadvat. Swagata visheshunyopi. So kartrutvam also is another vishesha. Jnatrutvam is a vishesha which is not there. Kartrutva is also a vishesha which is not there. Swagata visheshunyopi sandhini matrena karakani pravartayan krinam karta. So Atma, I am called karta also. So karta, bhokta, pramata, these three designations are there in Atma. Karta, due to the identification or activity at the level of organs of action. Then pramata, because of the what happens at the level of the perception. And bhokta also, the experience that happens at the level of perception. So kartrutva is in the buddhi, bhoktritva is in the mind, and that's how the Atma gets different designations. Sandhini matra karakani pravartayan. So when karakas, so when like karaka is karana, karma, karana, they are karakas. So when all of a sudden the fan starts rotating, so there is something that seems to be impelling the fan to rotate. Because the fan was stationary so far, starts rotating, electricity has come now, light has come, fan starts rotating. So karaka, the motor rotates, fan blades rotate. So when all these entities rotate, which did not rotate so far, we naturally say that somebody, some entity has rotated them. Electricity. So electricity runs the fan. This is how the conclusion would be. Electricity called Brahmaka. So that which sets into motion something else. Here of course, so Brahmakavat, example is Brahma. So Tikakara says, Brahmayati pravartayati praksuptam janasamuham iti Brahmaka Surya. Surya also can be called Brahmaka. So one that imparts motion, activity. Brahmayati means pravartayati here, not rotates, but then sets into activity. Praksuptam janasamuham. And therefore, this human being that were sleeping so far are now woken up and set into activity. So the sun has done that. Sun is called Brahmaka. So one who impels activity. Yadva Brahmaka ayaskantaha means a magnet. Ayas means iron. Kanta means one that is dear. So magnet is very dear to iron, you can say, and there because they just get attracted. Because you get attracted to what is dear to you, and those iron filings are attracted to magnet. So magnet very dear. So it's called ayaskanta. Sayatha swayam chananadi vyapar rahitopi. Even though no intrinsic change happens in the magnet, vyapar rahitopi. Itself, the magnet does not carry out any operation, no volition, no sankalpa, no will, no effort. Luha kiladinam chalako dushtaha. Kila means the nail, etc. A pin or a nail, how the magnet is seen to be chalaka, is seen to be responsible for the movement of a nail or a pin, iron pin. Tatha ayamapi. So we say that the magnet has attracted them. Magnet has not done anything to attract them, to set them into motion. It's just a nature that they get set into motion in the presence of magnet. Tatha ayamapi. So also in presence of Atma, all these karakas, for example, the mind, intellect, the mind, organs of action, all of these become enlivened in presence of Atma. Prakritehe, kriyamanani, gunehi, karmani, sarva. Prakriti does everything. All the modifications of Prakriti, the gross body, subtle body, they do things in presence of the Atma. Here, Atma's presence is always there, but then, as we say, something has to happen for Atma to get reflected, then alone the presence is felt. Otherwise, this active, Upadhi is always active. It's not so. So, the organ of speech starts talking when Atma's reflection comes. Otherwise, you're always doing things. It is the nature of organ of action to do things. Organ of perception to know things. That happens only when the contact with Atma gets established through Chidabhasa. Tadevam Vyakti Syat Aprakasho. This earlier verse, in the verse number 42, Vyakti Syat Aprakashasya Prakashatma Samagamat. Vyakti means manifestation happens of unmanifest when it comes in contact with the light. Iti Arabhya Uktam Prasangikam Atmana Jnatrutvam Kartrutvam cha Aupadikam Vyavasthapya. So this was Prasangika. That Atma is thought to be Jnata, knower. Atma is thought to be Karta, doer. This Aupadikam, that is not the inherent nature of Atma. It is because of something else which comes in contact with Atma, which displays certain characteristics. So Atma is branded that way. Vyavasthapya. So this Vyavastha is shown. Prakrantam Atmana. So Prakranta, what is its subject matter of discussion? Atma is not Gneya or Agneya. That's the whole idea here. That Atma is Jnata and Karta is only Prasangika. That was not the main topic of discussion. But by the way, that also was brought out because it's necessary to know that Atma is Akarta Ajnata. Because then that is, he is not known or not knower also will be very clear to us or unknown. Prakrantam Atmanah Jnana Karmatva Akarmatvabhyam Gneya Agneya Niyato Pakshadvyam Dvasamathan Upasamharati. Atmana Jnana Karmatva Akarmatvabhyam. That Atma becomes object of knowledge or doesn't become object of knowledge. Agneya Niyatva Paksha. If Atma becomes object of knowledge, becomes Gneya, no then Agneya. So Upasamharati, Atma can be called both Agneya as well as Gneya. So the second line of verse is Swarupena Swayam Natma Gneyo Agneyo Thatatah. It cannot be known, doesn't mean it is unknown. So Gneyatva also is there because Atma is known. Agneyatva is there because Atma is not known in conventional manner. Yato ayam Atma nirvishesha svabhavatah alupta prakasha swarupascha. Because the Atma is without any attributes, by itself swarupatah alupta prakasha swarupascha, by itself of the nature of unceasing light. The constant light is the nature of the Atma, meaning that the light or consciousness of Atma does not suffer a cessation. That's how alupta prakasha swarupascha tatah swayam swarupena asadhana. That this is the asadhana svabhava of the Atma. Very unique nature of Atma, that it always to shine is a nature. And there is nothing else, no other entity of it to shine is a nature, by the way. Atma is only principle of which the nature is to shine. Therefore, asadhana svabhavena. No, we do not, that the reason why all the confusion happens is what we experience in the world with objects which have a different nature, that they do not shine themselves, and those experiences and conclusions are also superimposed upon Atma. So that is why all this long discussion that, wait a minute, what applies to or what our understanding is with reference object of knowledge of Ghatapata, that does not apply to Atma here. Because alupta prakasha swarupaha. asadharana svabhava. This is the unique nature of Atma, that it never ceases to shine. Tatah swayam surupena asasva na jneyah. Therefore, Atma cannot be said to be jneyah, meaning what? Jnana kriya vyapto navo. It is jnanam, therefore it cannot be in or object of another jnanam. Light does not require another light to illumine, so also consciousness does not require another consciousness to illumine the Atma. Tatha na jneyah. Nor can we say Atma is unknown. Vyavahita vastuvat na jnana prakash rahita. A thing can become jnaya when it is vyavahitam. Aprakasha and vyavahitatvam. Aprakashatvam, something that does not illumine itself, and vyavahitatvam, when it is separated. Atma is avyavahita and prakasha. So, vyavahita vastuvat. So, vyavahita means that which is separate from Atma. Atma is prakasha swarupa. That is separate from Atma is not prakasha swarupa. So, that alone is to be illumined. But Atma is avyavahita, is immediate, and that is prakasha swarupa. Therefore, it is not agneya, not unknown. Only thing that does not shine on its own, and that stands apart from Atma, alone can be unknown. See, we say that Anatma stands apart from Atma in terms of the reality. Therefore, even though Atma ever shines, the Anatma does not ever shine. Anatma shines only when the Atma, the reflected Atma comes or come in contact with Anatma, the Anatma shines. Because that's the Vyavadhanam. Not that there is Vyavadhanam of separatedness of Ghatapata with Atma in time, space or anything, because Atma is everywhere. So nothing is really away from Atma, and still is away from Atma in as much as this is Mithya, Atma is Satyam. Therefore, Atma also, we have the idea of, or the concept Chidabhasa, that as the Atma gets reflected, or Atma gets conditioned. Then there is now a contact between Atma and Anatma, then Atma shines. But Atma doesn't require that contact because it is Atma. To shine is its nature. So Atma is not known, nor is it unknown. For being unknown, what's the rule? It should be separate from Atma and should not be self-shining. Atma is not separate from Atma. It is self-shining, therefore being unknownness cannot be in Atma. And Atma cannot be known as an object of knowledge because it is nature of consciousness, does not require another consciousness to illumine that. So second line verse 48, Swarupena Swayam Natma Gneyo Agneyo Athava Tataha. So Athava ityanena Jnatava Anyasya Ajnatava Na Bhavati Atma. So Atma does not become the Anyasya Jnata, the knower of something else, nor Ajnata, that it doesn't know, because it illumines anyway. The knowerness is not in Atma, that doesn't mean that it does not illuminate, it knows everything by virtue of illumination. Nirvikara Chaitanya Yogacha, because of the nature of Nirvikara Chaitanyitam Tatha, Karta, Karaka, Adhyasa, Adhisthana. So, still Atma is called Karta because Karaka, Adhyasa, Adhisthana, it is Adhisthana of all the Karakas, like the Karma, Karana, etc. The Karta se Nirvyapa, or itself is not Karta because we find things moving, we find things active in the universe. Everything is in motion. Therefore, we presume that there must be some entity which sets them into motion. Therefore, Atma is called the Niyanta, is called the Sarjak, Karta, Bhokta, etc., or creator, sustainer. Because things are created. So we say Atma is creator. Because they are destroyed, we call him destroyer. They are all following and obeying the rules. So he is a Niyanta, ordainer. Atma gets designated because of Upadhi. So Jagat becomes Upadhi, because of which the Atma gets a resignation. By itself is not any of them. So you can call Atma Karta from the standpoint of the Jagat, which is Niyantrit. So, because it's created, so you can call him creator. By itself, there is no creatorness. Karta Karaka Adhyas Adhishthanattvat. Atma is Karta because Adhisthana, all the Karakas, Na Karta cha, by itself, Nirvyaparatvat. So looking at the things that are in motion, Atma is called Karta. Looking at itself, because Nirvyaparatvat, it is Akarta. Ityadi Viruddha Pratibhasa Vyavastha Upasamhara Ukto Veda. Similarly, thus all these contradictory terms are used about Atma. Now we should understand why those contradictory terms, which standpoint it is, and Ukto Veda. So we have explained everything. All contradictory notions about Atma or Ishvara or Brahman are thereby understood, explained. Viditavya iti. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.